welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. In this video, we're going to be talking about all sorts of things going on in the heavens. The heavens are just like so active, and they have been for the last several months. And here we have three more things. So there's a massive coronal hole on the sun right now. Here you can see it. There was a really impressive and possibly largest tornado on the sun. And then we have a upcoming planetary alignment that's rare. So it's just insane. Now, so we're going to go over this first, the coronal hole. I talked about this in the live stream that I did earlier today. By the way, I don't know if you guys know, but live streams, if you go to the home tab, okay, for my channel, first you have videos, and then after that you have past live streams. So if you miss a live stream, maybe check down here. I'm not sure if sometimes people miss it. And maybe it's not your thing, because like we talk about all sorts of things. Usually it's pretty scattered, but usually we have pretty good conversation. I did one this morning. I did basically a full tour of the homestead. Did the chicken coop, went and looked at the fruit trees, cows, all that stuff. So check that out maybe if you haven't, if that's the type of thing that you like. And yeah, okay. Now before we get to this, everything that's happening in space, as always, here's a quick update on the Book of Mormon sharing challenge. And as of yesterday, we're at an even 4,800 copies of the Book of Mormon that have been shared. 4,800. So we're just 200 a year. Oh my gosh. Can I talk today? Can I say? We are just 200 away from 5,000, which is great. I would really like to see if we could get to 10,000 or more, but 5,000, that would be so good. Just sharing any is good. Okay. We've increased a total of 6 people that have joined the challenge. So now we're at 432 people that have joined the Flood the Earth challenge. Okay. 21 reports of people meeting with the missionaries and 3 baptisms. I'm going to do a new thing. If you report any new shares of the Book of Mormon or missionaries or baptisms, put hashtag flood. That's it. Just hashtag flood or just the word flood. It doesn't matter, but ideally hashtag flood. That way it'll be much easier for me to find your comments. Okay. Because right now I have to do a search for Book of Mormon, do a search for BOM, do a search for B of M, do a search for BOMS, do a search for share. There's like all sorts of different ways that people let me know that they shared. So maybe just to make it a little bit easier, do hashtag flood, and that way I can find it easier. Or you can just email it to me. So keep it up. Remember, it's as easy as just pushing a button. Nowadays, you don't even have to have a physical book. Just if you can push buttons, then you can share the Book of Mormon. Go to your gospel library, the gospel library app, go to scriptures, and then up here you'll see the mobile app for specifically the Book of Mormon, designed for people that aren't members of the church. It's just the Book of Mormon. Just click share. You can text, email, or direct message. So make sure to do that, please. Okay, so let's get back to it. We'll start with this article. So the northern lights could dazzle the skies from Washington to New York on Friday, blown by winds from a giant hole on the sun. All right. So Aurora Borealis. Okay. Skies across the northernmost U.S. states could be graced with stunning displays of the northern lights on Friday, blown into view by a giant hole on the sun. And then here are the areas that could potentially see this. This is going to be on Friday, so tomorrow. Okay. As of Wednesday morning, the Aurora forecast predicted a KP index, measure of the strength of the northern lights, of 6 on Friday. It indicates that the aurora may occur halfway between the green and yellow lines in the below image. So it looks like if you're in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, upper New York State, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, South Dakota, Montana, northern Idaho, and most of the state of Washington. Um, you're probably going to see this. So lucky you. The rest of us are jealous. So make sure to look up at the sky if you're in those areas tomorrow. It says these solar winds are coming from a giant coronal hole on the sun. The giant dark spot is not an actual hole in the way you might be thinking. Rather, it's an area of the ultra hot outer layer of the sun's atmosphere, the corona, that's cooler in temperature than its surroundings, and therefore not glowing as bright. So that's all it is. It's not an actual hole in the sun, just a cooler area. So I wanted to investigate this to see, like, is this the biggest of its kind? When I saw these images in this video, I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, that is gigantic. It looks like the Death Star from Star Wars. It just looks so dramatic. So I'm going to show you what I found in just a second here. This one is very large, the size of about 20 to 30 Earths. So keep that number in mind. 20 to 30 Earths lined up back to back. All right, go on to the next one. Also from Insider, 20 to 30 Earths across. Now look at this. Holes like this are part of the sun's normal activity, but McIntosh said that they are, quote, not well understood, and called these events, quote, the dark side of solar activity, which I think that's like an interesting way to describe it, the dark side of solar activity. All right. However, we are entering a new phase of increasing solar activity where coronal holes may be less frequent, and coronal mass ejections, otherwise known as CMEs, and powerful solar flares will become more common, Young said. So, if you don't know, the sun goes through 11-year cycles. It's called a solar cycle. So we're getting to what it said right here: a new phase of increasing solar activity, and coronal holes, like what we're seeing right now, will be less frequent. That can be a concern since the powerful magnetic fields from coronal mass ejections and solar flares have been known to surge power grids and fry satellites. However, these events are infrequent. Okay, so that's just talking about, not talking about the coronal hole. It's talking about how as the sun starts to have more activity, there will be more CMEs and solar flares, and those are happening all the time. There's other YouTube channels you can go and watch that cover that pretty extensively. In fact, two that I typically will check out. A lot of people know Mr. MBB 333. So you got this guy right here. He's out of Arizona. He does a fantastic job, just chronicling all different sorts of stuff, earthquakes, solar flares, CMEs, sky phenomena. So you might want to check him out. He's really good. And then there's also another guy, World News Report Today, James Kaufman. He's a little bit more, a little eccentric, but I really like him. He has a good personality, and he is basically all about CMEs and the Schumann resonance and earthquakes, and not so much sky phenomena like Mr. MBB 333, but I feel like he has a pretty good handle on stuff going on in space. So I've been watching them for quite a while, and CMEs are common, they're frequent, but they're going to be increasing as we get to this more active part of the cycle. Okay, Young said that for him and other solar scientists, quote, it's going to get more and more exciting and interesting, end quote, as solar activity increases. So yeah, we're going to, I don't know, we'll have to keep an eye on that. Now, there wasn't anything in these articles saying that this was like the biggest coronal hole. That's really what I was looking for, because if it was, or if there was some really unique feature about this, then I would probably put it on my Second Coming timeline. But I did some more research to see, has this happened before? Like, is this normal compared to other ones? And it turns out that there have been other ones like this. In fact, even bigger. This one is from October 15th, 2015. This is on space.com. And this coronal hole back then was 50 Earths wide. Remember that this one right here, it said that it is 20 to 30. So the one happening right now, 20 to 30, but back in 2015, we had one that was 50. So this one was bigger. Let's see. Was there anything else? I highlighted a few things out of these articles here. Here's another one. This one is from 2016. And here you can see it right here. There's also a YouTube video that goes along with it if you want to check that out. But this is from July 11th, 2016. This article says NASA itself notes that these coronal holes can appear for weeks or even months at a time, and can take up as much as a quarter of the sun's surface. Which, I mean, that is just like a huge area, just a quarter of the sun's surface. Seriously. But so here you have two, like you have one a year after the other one, 2015, 2016. I don't think it said the size on here of this one in 2016. There was one here. Let's see. This one is 2022. No, 2021. A giant hole in the sun is throwing out charged particles toward Earth. So another one happened in 2021. This is another one. This is 2022. Massive coronal hole in the sun will impact the Earth. Here's a picture of it. It doesn't say how many Earths wide, but I don't want to get that deep into it anyway. And look what they say here. It says, have we seen such holes on the sun before? Yes, of course. Coronal holes happen on a regular basis, last time being in April 2020. Which, that doesn't seem right, because I just showed you one from 2021. Okay, whatever. Not just this year, not just this. Earlier in 2018, 2016 also, a massive hole on the surface of the sun had unleashed strong solar winds toward the Earth, which resulted in the northern lights in some of the areas of the polar regions of the Earth. So there you have that. So I still think it's worth noting that this is happening right now. This is happening just ahead of General Conference. General Conference is just a little ways away. I did go ahead and check the Islamic and Jewish calendars to see if anything was going on in association with this and what we're going to talk about next, the tornado on the sun and the planetary alignment. So I have these calendars up. So we are on the 23rd. And so as you can see, just a little bit less than, or just like a little over a week from now, we're going to be at the April 2023 General Conference. And a lot of us are really anticipating big things from that conference. So it's probably going to be pretty incredible. So we have this going on just before General Conference, as well as this quote-unquote monstrous solar tornado, the size of 14 stacked Earths, swirls at the sun's north pole. Now, this is not the same as the vortex video that I did. This is something different. So go back, a couple weeks on my channel, and you'll see a video called. Let me just look for it right now. It's called something like "Crown on the Sun" or something like that. Yeah, right here. Sign in the heavens, a crown on the sun. So in this instance, there was like a much wider, like not a narrow tornado-like feature like this, but a much bigger, kind of like a cyclone-looking event over the North Pole of the sun. So, in fact, they said that it was unprecedented. It never happened before. So I put it on my timeline, and here it is. That happened on the 2nd of February. Unprecedented vortex on sun's north pole. Okay. So go watch that video. There's some more details about that. But here, now, just a month later, we have a tornado on the sun. Let me read some of the details of this. Last week, NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory caught a massive solar tornado dancing on the sun's north pole. And astronomers were able to watch it twist and grow nonstop for 3 days until it swirled at a height of 120,000 kilometers or 14 Earths. This guy on Twitter, he has a video of it, and it's pretty cool. Okay, solar tornadoes occur when solar magnetic fields twist in a furious spiral, dragging clouds of plasma around with them, and are seen from time to time. But space weather enthusiasts claim to have never seen one as colossal. So, this is where I have to kind of like stop and think whether or not I'm going to put this on the Second Coming timeline. And I would appreciate your input. Um, so it's not official that it was like the most colossal, the biggest one ever, but yeah, I think I trust the space weather enthusiasts that from what I've seen, if you're an enthusiast of whatever, these like fringe kind of subjects, you usually are pretty into it and usually know your stuff. So I'm thinking that I might, but I would like to see what you guys think. Should I put this sun tornado on the Second Coming timeline? So the date that this actually took place. Well, I don't know exactly when it began. I might have to look into it closer, but this guy posted this this tweet on March 18th, and he said that I spent 3 hours yesterday with my solar telescope pointed at a tall tornado-y looking thing on the sun. So this at least took place on the 17th, possibly before. I can't think of anything. Like, again, I looked at the calendar. It's not like there's anything really happening at that time. It is interesting a little bit that it happened on the 17th just because of all the 17s that we talk about on the channel. But anyway, just let me know what you think about that. A tornado on the sun. It's crazy that we've had these two big uh, well, I mean, essentially vortex spinning events on the sun, however you want to classify it. So it's like I said in the live stream that I did this morning. It's like, yeah, the sun is going through its cycles, but we're seeing things on the sun that we haven't seen before. And you can't claim that it's because of climate change. You know, like I said, we don't have people driving around in cars on the sun. And our carbon emissions, I don't think that those are like going to the sun and making the sun a hotter place. So you have to wonder why this is happening at the same time that you have all these things happening on Earth. They're probably connected, they're probably related, and they probably have to do with moving on into the millennium. And for all we know, the sun is intimately involved with changing the Earth into a paradisiacal world. The world that we're going to have during the millennium. So I don't know. All we can do is just kind of wait and see, and then kind of take note of these events that take place. So, all right, and then I got an email from Christian Zybarth about an upcoming uh, planetary alignment, which is interesting because we just had one, or in fact, last year we had two, and they were rare, and it turns out that these ones are too. So let me just read what I found. 5 planets will align in the sky in March. Here's when and how to spot it. Okay. This is from people.com. Be sure to point your eyes to the sky toward the end of March because 5 planets are expected to be visible from Earth, marking a rare astronomical phenomenon right before the turn of the month this year. The unique occurrence is called a planetary alignment, a term that describes the gathering of several planets on one side of the sun at the same time. The phrase planetary parade, quote unquote, is the colloquial term used to describe multiple planets present at once per per star walk space. Okay. According to NASA, this fascinating phenomena occurs depending on the amount of time each planet takes to complete one orbit around the sun. Because of the duration of each orbit differs from planet to planet, this explains why planetary alignments are rare, especially those larger in size like this one. Alignments comprised of alignments comprised of the same planets are considered rarer in comparison to just any planetary conjunction. For example, the last planetary alignment to form took place in June 2022, with Saturn, Mars, Jupiter, and Venus visible from the Earth. But that specific alignment isn't expected to form again until 2040. Now, I have to correct that, and this is why you have to check different news sources, okay? Because uh, no disrespect toward whoever wrote this article, but that's not correct. You had the one in June 2022, but that wasn't the last one. The last one that we experienced was on Christmas Day. This is Forbes. Christmas Day will see the second, final, and best planetary parade of 2022. Let's see, I can't remember if I highlighted anything here. I did in this one though. Skyandtelescope.org. All eight planets line up again. So it talks about the one that happened in June of last year. It names the planets in the order that you would see them: Venus, Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, Jupiter, Uranus, and Mars. And then they were calling this one a planetary octet because for eight planets. But that's because either you would add Earth to the alignment, or you would substitute, like it says here, you would substitute the moon. So you can do it that way too. And I think it's important that we do, because the day that this happened was Christmas. It was also the last day of Hanukkah. And if you know anything about Hanukkah, they light 8 candles, and on the last day of Hanukkah, they light the final candle. So at a time when the Jews were doing that with their menorahs, in the sky there was a celestial menorah taking place, essentially. And I think that that's incredibly significant. Add to that the fact that it was on Christmas. It's like a time when Jews and Christians were celebrating a very spiritual event, and something very spiritual seemed to be taking place in the heavens. So I don't think that is coincidence. That by itself made it extremely, extremely rare. Because when is the next time that we're going to have a planetary octet on Christmas and the last day of Hanukkah? Probably never. And I don't even, maybe it's never even happened before, for all I know. So anyway, um, excuse me. So this is what it would have looked like if you're looking up, the the Mars, the planets all in line right here, and the moon was there too. So going back to this, all right. So no, the June one was not the last one. It was the Christmas one of 2022, Christmas 2022. But anyway, these spectacles have caused concern for doomsday Earthlings, who believe that the planet's gravity and tidal forces are magnified when they're aligned, resulting in extraordinary effects here on Earth, like earthquakes and floods. But have no fear, NASA says that, quote, planetary alignments are harmless, end quote, based on the historical trends. Well, and I guess that's where you get a little bit of debate, because you also have dutchsinse. He's all about earthquakes. He is like the number one earthquake guy on YouTube. And I can't remember if I've heard him say or others, but they basically do talk about the fact that whenever there's alignments or planets in certain locations, that it does have an effect on Earth. And I believe him because he demonstrates it. He'll like call it, and then it'll happen. So I don't know. You can argue it. You can try and disprove it, discredit it. But I do believe that he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's talking about. So whenever I read just like these dismissive um, articles, especially one that missed the fact that the last planetary parade and alignment was just a couple months ago, you know, I don't know. So anyway, we have this coming up. Uh, did it say? It had the date, right? Oh, there's a few more things. Okay. 5 planets are expected to align and be visible from Earth at the end of March this year. They include Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Uranus, in addition to the Moon. This formation is especially rare because it includes Uranus, the 7th planet from the Sun, and one of the hardest to spot from Earth. Let's see. This is someone named uh, Perumian. They say, quote, "It is a bigger feat for Neptune and Uranus to also be visible at the same time, as they take 165 years and 84 years, respectively, to orbit the Sun. Both planets spend considerable time on opposite sides of the Sun from our vantage point." So that's interesting. Okay, that's interesting because, yeah, all the other planets, they go quicker around the Sun, but to finally get to a point where both Neptune and Uranus are on the same side, that's probably significant. So when will the 5 planets be visible from Earth? On Tuesday, March 28th, 2023. So that is going to be, well, obviously next week and just a few days before General Conference. So I don't know. Make of that what you will. So if we go by the definition of, or the way that where'd it go? The way that they talked about these planetary parades in June and on Christmas last year, where you would count the moon or you would count the Earth as the final planet. So those two last year had 8. They were both of them were. Wait, was the June one, was that an octet as well? I'm not going to look it up. I'm not. Anyway, let's just say that, yeah, because it says all 8 planets line up again. So the two last year, they both had 8 planets. And now the one that's happening right now has 5, but you could include the Earth, so that would be like 6. So I don't know if there's any significance to that. We're always looking for numbers. We're always looking for um, symbolism, because sometimes there is symbolism. I don't know what the symbolism would be, but like when you think about 6, you think about the 6,000 years of Earth's existence before the millennium. So I don't know. Maybe it has to do with that. Uh, 6 is the number of a man, so you usually associate it with um, man in his fallen state, separated from God, being spiritually dead. So I don't know. You can look at it in any number of ways, but anyway, we're just taking note. We're just taking note that it's going to happen. And I'm not sure if I'm going to put this on the timeline. No, maybe I should. Yeah, no, I'll put this on the timeline. This planetary parade that's coming up. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about the tornado, if I should put that on the timeline. But with this right here, with this Coronal Hole, I'm not, just because we looked at these different examples where there were other times that there were Coronal Holes just like this, if not bigger. So, but still, like I said, that doesn't mean that this isn't significant, especially given the proximity to General Conference, but maybe just something to kind of note, and that's it. All right, that's it. So again, share the Book of Mormon. Just do it. All you have to do, the only thing anyone's asking you to do is push a button. Okay, and then you can share it easier than we've ever been able to share it before. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. Like this video if you liked it. Leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.